Hello, everyone. It's a Tuesday edition of Daily Betslip. I don't know if you can tell, but I think I look quite a bit older on this show compared to yesterday because it's my 30th birthday. First ever Daily Betslip where I'm 30 years old. I feel very old. My youth is gone. RIP to my youth. But maybe it means my betting might go a little bit better. So on this show, it is myself. It is Ben Heisler. I'm going to give out my first ever pick since I've turned 30 years old. And we're going to talk our best bets for tonight. We got community picks as always. We're going to talk the best bets to make or miss the NFL playoffs. And then we got game of the night is the Phoenix Suns against the Memphis Grizzlies. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ian. Happy 30th birthday to you. I would tell you that your 30s are a fun, spectacular time. But I think there was a reason that I was chosen to come on the show today to make you feel younger on your 30th birthday.
Yes,
you're like, all right,
exactly.
there's only a handful of guys that we can go with on the program today. Oh, let's take the oldest of the BetSided crew, not besides our boss as well. But I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm here to tell you that there'll be some days where you wake up, back starts to hurt a little bit more. You might not recover as well from an old-fashioned night out. But you know what? At least you're not 40 yet. And when you get to 40, that's when it's really starting to come. So I got about 5 years left before that.
That's true. I'm looking at myself. I even like the wrinkles around my eyes even look more pronounced today. It's bad.
That's just from rooting for the Maple Leafs and the Falcons and the Blue Jays.
As I wear my Maple Leafs shirt right now, but yes, they have aged me for sure.
Those are self-inflicted wounds.
Yes, 100%. Some birthday wishes in the chat. Thank you very much, Stevie Payne and UNLV94. I've cracked my first birthday beer. I'm back in Canada, so I'm able to drink one of my favorite beers, a nice Alexander Keith's, the Pride of Nova Scotia. So there you have it. Let's get into picks for the show here. Right. Ben, actually, I do want to bring up here. Let's bring this down one more sec. We'll get to. I want to bring up what you told me right before we went live, which is that you looked into getting me a Luka Garza cameo, but then you told me Luka Garza is charging how much for a cameo nowadays?
So I know that Luka Garza was your favorite college player of all time, and I was like, you know what? He's hanging around on the bench somewhere. Like maybe this is something that either I can get for our guy over here, or maybe the staff can go in together. Ian, I love you, man. Like you're our guy. I was not going to spend $125 for a Luka Garza cameo.
I would not expect that, and that is insane. Luka Garza, who he on the Timberwolves last I checked. I don't even know if he's riding the bench for them or if he's down in the G League, but charging over $100 as a G League player is insane. Like Luka Garza should be charging like $20. Like how many people are looking for a Luka Garza? Unless you're like an Iowa Hawkeyes fan, how many people are looking for a Luka Garza cameo? There can't be many.
I was gonna say like he's probably dominating Iowa City. Maybe a select handful of places here and there. They made a nice little run throughout his career in Iowa. He's one of the great Iowa Hawkeyes of all time. But and listen, even if he was still in college, like charge whatever you want, man. Like charge what your value is because you're not getting paid the big bucks in the NBA. Now it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't imagine at $125 Luka Garza is getting very many requests. So far this year, he has played in 7 games for the Timberwolves. He is averaging 3.7 minutes in those games. He is averaging, where are we at here? 2.1 points per game, 1.1 rebounds, 0.4 assists. Luka Garza, look at that.
You know what you should do if
you might win 12th man of the year.
Yeah, you know what you should do if you're an NBA and you want to be a cameo? You should make your combined like points, rebounds, and assists per game. Like that's how much it should be for your cameo. So if you're averaging like 2.1 points, 1.3 rebounds, and an assist, that's like $45. That's it. That's what you get to charge for your rate for a cameo. By the way, if you want to book like an actual live conversation with him, that goes all the way up to $225.
Oh God. All right, good stuff. I appreciate the thought anyways. I would certainly not expect you to spend that much on a Luka Garza cameo. All right, let's get into some community picks here for tonight. Let's start off with the first one that was flashed there a little bit earlier. Chips Picks Daily, who actually sent in 2 picks. I can get to the other one later. If we can do that one last, JJ, because he sent in the NHL future too, which is really interesting. But his pick for tonight is in the NHL. Is on Predator Stars under 6. Minus 120 says, so since December 8th, both teams rank 5th and 8th in save percentage respectively. In that span, both teams rank 17th and 20th in expected goals percentage. Looking like pre-injury from a sports... Oh, what is that? I can't see. I don't know what that emoticon is, but that emoji is. But look like pre-injury from sports, a 9-12 save percentage over his last 7 games. What is that?
I'm trying to figure out what that emoji is as well. It looks
like an otter. Oh, he must be referring to Jake Ottinger. That would make sense.
It is. This is also what happens when you get old, is that the young cool people on social media just get too cool for us, and we start asking like what slang is on different social media platforms. We get emojis that we don't understand. Like this is perfect for today.
Well, and also it wasn't even just that I couldn't understand it. So I'm on my little laptop, so like I quite literally couldn't even see what it was. It didn't take me too long once I figured out. Yeah, that is part of it.
When you get a pair of readers for your next episode.
My eyes have officially gone bad. I couldn't even see what the emoji was. But yeah, Jake Ottinger and Husiceros. I always forget how to pronounce his first name. 2 of the preseason Vezina Trophy favorites, both playing a little bit better as of late. In this game, I am on the Stars money line. That's not a pick I had on the show, but it was in my best bets article that I tweeted out earlier. So I like Stars money line a little bit better, but I would certainly, if I was betting on the total, I would certainly like the under. Two of my favorite goalies in the NHL going head to head. So I like that one, Chips. Any thoughts on that, Ben?
Not particularly. Obviously, if it's a good play and you're starting to see some good goaltending, then you know me, and I'm not a big hockey guy. So this one certainly seems right up your alley, and it sounds like you guys are in lockstep agreement.
Love it. Let's move on to the next one. Jackson Hecker at Hecker Jackson. He says it is also my birthday. Happy birthday to you, Jackson. Sixers -4. This is an NBA play, so maybe, Ben, you can help me out with this one. You might not be an NHL guy. I might not be an NBA guy. Sixers in Washington take on the Wizards. Any thoughts for that one?
It's a good line at -4. I'm seeing anywhere between 5 and in some books even having this at 5.5. Sixers have won, I believe, 8 consecutive games. Went into New York for a team that was down early in the first quarter, came back and really dismantled the Knicks in their home building. So they're continuing on their road trip. Washington is one of those teams where they're just not going to play a lot of defense. Hasn't been that way in a while. So, and they really don't have anybody to stop Embiid inside. So I certainly don't mind that play. It might be a bit of a letdown coming off of the Christmas game, but odds seem to dictate that it's going in favor of Philadelphia, already moving to 5 and 5.5. So that's a great line. So I love the Sixers at that play.
All right. Love it. Fellow December 27th birthday boy. All right. Let's move on to the next pick here. Jokic triple-double. This comes in from Rhodes. Rhodes knows. Let me see. I should have looked this up beforehand, but let me see what the odds are here on a Jokic triple-double. Obviously, a pretty good look here. The guy is skyrocketed up to one of the top favorites now to win MVP. It'd be the 3rd straight MVP win for Jokic. It is the Denver Nuggets going up against the Sacramento Kings. I'm going to try to find what the triple-double odds are here. Ben, when was the last time a NBA player won MVP, did a three-peat with the MVP award?
Three-peat? It's been an awfully long time. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but as far as Jokic goes, the numbers for him continue to just be absolutely exceptional. And he's going to have to put up the points because they're playing on the road in Sacramento. And the Kings are one of those teams this year. Peter actually had him, our guy Peter Dewey, our NBA insider, had him all the way up to 11th in his latest power rankings. And this is a Kings team that hasn't made the postseason in an awfully long time. Jokic continues to put up just spectacular numbers when he's on the court. Steph Curry for a while was kind of in that range, Ian, of like just when he's off the court, the team just completely and totally sucks. And Jokic was carrying the Nuggets over the last 2 years. And now they're a little bit better. They have a little bit more depth around him, but he took over that game against the Suns. He was making shots that he had no business making against a fairly good interior defense. So if you think he's going to go ahead and do the triple-double tonight, it makes sense given that the Kings are going to play fast at home. They're going to score a lot of points, and he's going to have to dish it out a little bit. I worry a little bit about the rebounds. Sometimes when you play up against high-paced teams that are making a lot of shots, the rebounds go down. But the odds feel reasonable here. So if you're taking Jokic to get a triple-double and the odds are halfway decent, I'm never going to fault you for it.
I just looked up the odds here. Plus 140 for Jokic to record a triple-double tonight against the Kings. And then to answer the trivia question, I did look it up. The last time the NBA had a three-peat MVP, I'm going to give you a guess because it is a big name. It is, if I were to give you 5 guesses, you'd get it. So throw a name out there you think was the last winner of a three-peat MVP.
I mean, are we talking about like within the last 20 years?
No, not the last 20 years.
Okay, I'll go Bill Russell.
Larry Bird.
Oh, that guy.
Larry Bird from 84 to 86.
All right.
Listen, I think if I gave you 5 guesses, I think you would have guessed Bird in one of those 5 guesses.
Yeah, and you know what? I should have known that because watching the Winning Time show on HBO, I always remembered like hearing how Larry was always getting the MVP conversations and Magic was getting shunned out from the league as a result of it. So yeah, Larry Bird, of course.
Yes, from 84 to 86. So Jokic has a chance now to match Larry Bird and be the first person to three-peat since the mid-'80s. All right, we still got community picks here. Let's get through a couple more of these. I think the next one is a hockey total. Colorado, Arizona, the Coyotes under 5.5. This comes in from Benny at Third and Ben. I don't hate it. My issue is that the only thing that the Coyotes do well this season is score. They're like a top 5, top 3 shooting percentage team. All their other numbers stink. So I think the Avalanche are huge favorites and they should win this game. But if the Coyotes get like 15 shots, like they might score 3. So the under makes me a little bit concerned with that. It's not a play I would make, but I would say that would just be my concern. But the Avalanche have been getting pretty solid goaltending from Alexander Georgiev this season as well, who I assume is starting tonight with the break. I assume all teams are going to go with their starters. But that would be my main concern about betting the under in that game.
Yeah, my only concern is that this line has already moved. I think it opened up at 6, so it's already down to 5.5, and you're paying a minus 115 for it. So you're going in the right direction of the books and the sharps. It's just a question of whether or not you've missed that initial number. So I almost think if you're going to try and do the under here, maybe you try to get it live. If, say, Arizona does get off to a decent start or Colorado knocks one in early. But listen, it's in the right movement side, so you might as well go with that.
Also, a little bit concerning that Coyotes are going with Connor Ingram, who has a goals against average of 4.39 and a save percentage of 875 this year. So that's not good stuff from Connor Ingram. So, but hey, if it's moved down, then you're on the side of the sharp. So best of luck to you. But not a play I'm rushing to bet. But who knows? Anything could happen. Also, anytime I bet a Coyotes game, I'm on the wrong side, no matter what I do. So, all right, let's keep it going. I think we have one more, and then we have the NHL future I want to get to. This is for the college basketball game tonight. Not a lot of games tonight, but the best one is the Big East showdown here between Marquette and Seton Hall. This comes in from Back to the Well Bets at Back to the Well. The Iain MacBet's birthday play of the day, Marquette minus 7.5 here. It says turnover advantage for the Golden Eagles. All 9 wins for Marquette by at least 6. 7-1 at home. Big bounce back from a tough loss at Providence last time out. Hashtag HBDIMAC. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. This is a game I think both of us have picked. Yeah, both of us have picks on this game. So we'll save our thoughts for when we break down picks. You're on a side, I'm on a total. So we're all looking at this game a little bit of a different way, but this is by far the most intriguing college basketball
there's
game.
5 college basketball games that are available to bet on tonight. 1 top 25 team in Texas. This is a rough college basketball slate right now. It'll get better, but right now, end of the year, winter break, whole lot of bad on the board right now.
Yes, absolutely. This one's going to be a good one, though. All right, and let's bring up the other Chips Picks daily pick here, which was a future for the people. Erik Karlsson Norris future plus 750 for the top defenseman. Over the last 14 years, 11 of the 14 Norris winners have finished top 2 in defensive points scored. Karlsson currently ranks first. The Karlsson comeback is a feel-good story writers can run it with in an award that is typically a popularity contest. That is true. Is Norris top offensive defenseman trophy? Let me just look it up a little bit. The names of these always confuse me. Yeah, the defense player who demonstrates throughout the season the greatest all-around ability. It's like the top offensive defenseman, kind of. Yeah, Erik Karlsson, what a story. A guy who was like looked at as a top defenseman in the NHL. Then he was just completely crap for like 4 or 5 years. And now all of a sudden he's leading the defenseman in points once again. So let me see if I can find some awards odds here. I'm curious to see who the top player would be. But I mean, a plus 750. I love that pick quite a bit. That is why I wanted to bring that up on the show here.
He's playing for the Sharks, correct?
He was with the Sharks. I think he's somewhere else now. Is he not? No, he is still with the Sharks. Yes, he is still with the Sharks.
So I guess my concern is that they're not a particularly good team. Is the Norris Trophy usually given out to regard? Because we have this conversation about MVP candidates all the time, like whether or not they need to be on a good team, or is it purely about the numbers? Is the Norris Trophy in recent history indicative of defensemen on good teams, or is it just purely based off of the numbers?
I think it's more purely based off the numbers. I'm just looking at some previous winners. I mean, last year was Cale Makar, and he's the favorite this year, and for good reason. That kind of makes sense why Carlson's down to plus 750. Cale Makar, you can make the argument that Cale Makar is the best player in the NHL next to Connor McDavid, probably. Some people might even say better than Connor McDavid. I think that's a little bit crazy, but the Rangers the year before, they were decent. The Predators, it never goes to a team that's on the worst, or a player on the worst team in the league. But I don't think it has to go to a top team. But maybe that does hold them back a little bit.
I mean, the goal numbers are pretty good. He's got 13 goals on the season, 33 assists in the early going. So I guess it's not that much of an early going. It is still December. But yeah, like plus minus of -5. Maybe they're on a nice trajectory, but it's definitely a surprising name to hear, and certainly worth considering from someone that knows a lot more about hockey than I do.
He already has the more points than he's had since the 2017-2018 season. So it was when he was with Ottawa that he had great seasons, 82 points, 71 points, 62 points. Then he went to the Sharks. He had 45, 40, 22 in 2020, 2021. 35, and now he's back up to already has 46 on the board for this season. So people love a good comeback story.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he was healthy in any of those 4 years in San Jose. Like played an average of about 52, 53 games those years.
Yes. Yeah, people love a good comeback story. So I like that pick. Hey, plus 750. I like that quite a bit. I do want to shout out UNLV94 in the chat. Says Yotes to score first for his bet for tonight. Probably pretty good odds for that. We talked about that game earlier. The Yotes are plus 190 home underdogs. First goal. Took me too long to find it. Can't find the odds for it, but there you go. UNLV 94 is on Yotes to score first. So that is the community picks. Let's get into our best bets. I have one in the NHL, one in college basketball, one in NBA. I went 2-0 with my NBA picks last on the show yesterday, Ben. So I'm back with some NBA action for today. Ben, what do you got for us? You got college basketball, NBA, and college football. Is that game tonight?
Yes, that is a game tonight. We can go into that first if you're curious. We can go a couple different ways here. Where do you want to start with tonight?
Let me start off with this being the Ian Turns 30 special episode. I will start off with the first bet that will take place after turning 30 years old. I did tweet it out earlier, but it is a big bet, so I'll give out my breakdown here. It is the Penguins, minus 130 against the Islanders. That is the first bet since I've turned 30 years old. I am convinced that how this bet turns out is going to determine how my bets are going to go for the next decade. So if there's ever a bet I need to win, it needs to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're small favorites. They're on the road. They're in New York, taking on the Islanders here. New York's been a bit of a disaster this year. 23rd in expected goals for, 24th in expected goals against over their last 25 games. If it wasn't for the goaltender, Ilya Sorokin, who I believe is second in Vezina Trophy odds right now, second or third, the Islanders would have a much worse record, but I don't think Sorokin can even save them against the Penguins in this spot. Penguins much better offensively, and also a little bit of a wash with goaltenders here because Tristan Jarry of the Penguins has been fantastic as well. 920 save percentage from him so far this season. So Penguins have a significant advantage on offense. I will take them here, minus 130 against the Islanders.
What's crazy is that they're both in the Metropolitan Division. I was looking at the standings.
Yes.
The Islanders, despite them having the same amount of wins as Pittsburgh this year, are 5 losses back, and I think a win tonight would actually catapult them up about 3 spots in the standings. It's pretty packed in there. So this is a huge game for the Islanders, especially at home. Slight dogs, but I'm with you. There have been a whole lot of issues on the Islanders side. Started off pretty well, come back to earth a little bit, and haven't been a great team as far as covering the number at home. So I think it's perfectly reasonable. I think it's a good way to go ahead and set up the next 10 years. I think that's a good play.
Yeah, excuse me. Depending on what way you want to look at it, the Islanders don't force games to go into overtime, which puts them in a weird spot where they have a ton of wins, but they also have a lot of regulation losses. So every time they lose, they're not able to scrape out a point. Obviously, the overtime losses, you get at least 1 point. So they have only had, if I'm looking at this right, 5 games go to overtime all season. They're 3-2 in overtime games. So, I mean, it's good that they have a lot of regulation wins, but if having 14 regulation losses is going to hurt your record. So, yeah, Islanders a very interesting case through the first half of the season. Let's head to college football. Let's talk about your college football pick. What's the name of the bowl?
This is the Birmingham Bowl, which is
Love
played in, coincidentally, Birmingham, Alabama, between 2 Carolina schools, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the East Carolina Pirates. I hope I was saying the Chanticleers name correctly, but either way, going first quarter over 13.5, which is still available, by the way. I just looked before the show. BetMGM has it at -125. Pretty much everywhere else, it's already at 14 or above. So getting that 13.5 before it goes to 2 touchdowns on the board is going to be very good value, especially for these 2 types of teams. It's a fireworks game offensively. Both teams ranked top 20 in college football this year and top 32 in yards per play. They also on defense rank way outside the top 100 in opponent yards per play. I believe East Carolina comes in 115th, Coastal Carolina at 118th. Coastal also takes a lot of deep shots. They average just under 9 yards per pass, 8.8 to be exact. That's 7th best in the country. And they also have the 4th highest scoring offense in the country in the first quarter. East Carolina, they're around 70th in first quarter offense, which is kind of around middle of the pack, maybe slightly ahead. But they actually put up much better numbers on offense away from home than they did at home. And this is a neutral site game. So factor in everything, good weather, teams that play fast, teams that take chances downfield. The fact that you can still get this number at 13.5 at a reasonable line at -125. I bet this earlier in the week, Ian, at -110, but I certainly think this is a good number to jump in on. So give me the over first quarter, 13.5 in the Birmingham Bowl between the 2 Carolina schools and the Chanticleers of Coastal and the Pirates of East Carolina.
The king of first quarter bets himself, Ben Heisler, not only in the NBA, but also in college football.
Yeah.
Also,
sometimes the number speaks to you, and sometimes really smart people also speak to me, and that was a combination of this one here today.
All right, love it. Let's switch over let's do NBA next, and then we'll finish with college basketball. So my NBA prop bet for the night, and also we got game of the night coming up later, Suns Grizzlies. I'm on a side for that one, but for this game I'm going with a player prop. I'm going to go Jason Tatum under 7.5 rebounds. It's the Celtics against the Houston Rockets. For the same reason I took the under on Vucevic's rebounds last night. It was like under 10.5. I think he only got 3. The reason why is because the Rockets are a very good rebounding team. Some might say the best rebounding team in the NBA. It might be the only thing that the Houston Rockets do well. They grab 53.2% of rebounds. Jason Tatum hasn't surpassed his number in 4 straight games. And also something you need to consider when it's a big spread and you're betting on a player prop is that if this is a blowout in the Celtics' favor, because I think it's a 14.5 point spread, they're going to yank Tatum a little bit early. Blowouts usually lead to fewer minutes for the star players. Hasn't been extremely the case for Tatum. Usually he still stays in there for the majority game, but listen, they're not going to keep him in late in the fourth quarter to grab that 8th rebound if they're up by 25 points. So Jason Tatum under 7.5 rebounds for the Celtics against the Rockets tonight.
Yeah, like the play a lot. I'm also on Al Horford's under rebounding prop for this game. And then one other play that I also like for this game, I wouldn't put more than maybe a quarter of a unit on it, if that. You mentioned the Rockets, though. One of the only things that they're good at is rebounding. That's true. Yes. But over the last 10 games, the Houston Rockets on the road, Ian, have the best first quarter net rating.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Love it. I know where this is going.
Plus 260 money line. You can get them at plus 5.5. But Boston has been a bottom 5 first quarter net rated team over the last several games. Made some of it back up in the Christmas Day game, but coming off of a huge win, Rockets coming off of a back-to-back, they beat up on Chicago. Eventually they'll run out of gas, but I think they're coming in playing, feeling good about themselves. I think they can win the first quarter against Boston today. So I put a little something on it. I put it at plus 260 earlier today.
Love it.
On the Rockets first quarter money line.
Love it. I might add on that as well. A little sprinkle, maybe half unit. I like it so much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. I know. I love it. And if it loses, I'm coming after you. I'm getting in your Twitter replies. I'm sending you DMs.
All right. I'm ready for it.
All right. So for your NBA pick, I'm going to guess it might be another first quarter play. Let us hear it.
Yeah. Another thing that happens when you get into your 30s and you're married and you become predictable. I am taking a first quarter bet, but this might be one of my favorite first quarter bets of the year, to be perfectly honest with you. The Orlando Magic have been awesome over their last 10 games. They have covered in 10 consecutive. They are 8-2 straight up in their last 10 games. And this is one of those where you always want to shop around, because for much of the day, the Magic first quarter money line was minus 140 pretty much at every other book in the country. One book had them at minus 120. And last time I checked, they still were hovering around that number while everybody else was continuing to go to 140 or above. The Lakers are coming in. They're a bottom 5 net rated team in the first quarter away from home. LeBron James, Dennis Schroeder may not play. Magic are 5th overall in net rating over this 10-game stretch. And if you're looking specifically at the first quarter, the Magic haven't just been good over this last recent stretch where they've been playing really good basketball. They've been good in the first quarter all year at home. Right now, over the last 10 games, they rank 6th in first quarter net rating at home, while the Lakers are just 25th. So you're talking about an Orlando team that just needs to win the quarter, that's playing their best and most confident basketball of the season. The Lakers could already be shorthanded, and they're just not good in this spot consistently over the course of the year as they continue to fade into oblivion. So minus 120, Magic first quarter against the Lakers. I love the fact that this line was still available. Hopefully it still is for you as well. Go ahead and grab it, because one book still has it at a very competitive price. And if you want to go ahead and take them on the spread, I don't mind that play either.
All right. Ben Heisler says it might be his favorite first quarter play of the year.
Might be
Are you
talking
about NBA season, or are you talking about calendar year 2022?
No, and NBA season. The first quarter plays, I did a little bit last year, but it was really this year. 2022 was a big year of trying out some new things, including a lot of WNBA bets, NBA first quarter, trying to find like a few niche areas to take advantage of. So this
I was going to say, if it was, but so one of your favorite first quarter plays of the season, if it was on December 27th, you're giving out your best first quarter play of the entire year, I'd be hammering it. But still, NBA season, significant. That's still a few months of plays there.
Yeah, and if you find this particular book, I also know that for existing customers, they're given a profit boost. But if you haven't signed up for it yet, you can always go to BetSided. We have all the best NBA odds available for you, along with all the best available promos that you can use. This one's doing a $5 bet can get you up to $200 in free bets as well. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'd be interested in signing up for this, just head on over fansided.com/betsided, and all the best available odds you can find right there.
Boom. There you go. And also, I will say, I'll take this time to say, if you, the viewer, want to get me a birthday gift, what you can do for me is click like on this video and click subscribe to the BetSided YouTube channel. How about that?
There you go. That's even easier.
Perfect. So the final pick, actually no, because we got college basketball. So we're both on the same college basketball game here. It is Seton Hall and Marquette. My play is, I'm looking at the under. I like under 142. A little bit of a tricky game here when you're betting on the total, because two very opposite styles. Because if you look at all of Marquette's numbers, you'd probably lean more towards the over. But I think Seton Hall's numbers are extreme enough that I think they can slow this game down a little bit. So they're 258th in effective field goal percentage, 36th in defensive efficiency and 333rd in field goal attempts per game. So they can't shoot, but yet they're very good defensively, and they play at a very slow pace. So Seton Hall is an under-better's dream here. Also, their average combined total in their game so far this season is 130.5. That's 12 points less than the set total tonight. And why I decided to go with Seton Hall's numbers over Marquette's numbers is I think Seton Hall has the key to slowing down the Marquette offense, which is stopping the three ball, because Marquette shoots a ton of three balls. That's what we all know about Marquette. The Pirates, 15th in the country in opponent three-point field goal percentage, keeping teams to shooting only 27.3% from beyond the arc. So if they can slow down the Marquette three ball, then I think we're well on our way for this total going under. So for the under for this game, or for the total for this game, I like under 142 Seton Hall and Marquette.
Yeah, I think even though we're on slightly different bets here, we're coming from a very similar place. This is a game that I wrote up today over at FanSided, going over the game of the night in college basketball. You have a Seton Hall team that's getting a lot of points, like 7.5, 8 points. I was able to grab them at +8. And I think that's the play here, especially with Marquette's strengths matching up very well with Seton Hall strengths. Marquette, 17th best adjusted offensive efficiency in the country, according to KenPom. You mentioned it, 17th for Seton Hall in defensive rating. It's their 20th in adjusted defensive efficiency. They also take incredibly efficient shots. The Shaka Smart's team, they're 12th in effective field goal percentage. And Seton Hall has been so good all year at taking those shots away. They're 22nd in college basketball. I think that the biggest key in order for Seton Hall to stay around and cover this 7.5, 8 points is going to be turnovers. The problem with the Pirates this year is that they have turned the ball over far too much. They turn it over 22% of the time. That ranks in the bottom 35 of college basketball. And that plays into Marquette's strengths defensively because of that havoc defense, because they like to pressure. They're top 50 in forced turnovers this year. However, last few games in Big East play, Seton Hall has they've moved from terrible to not awful. They've gone from 22% up to 19%. So that's still too many takeaways. But if they hold Marquette offensively, if they take away the three ball, which they're so good at, if they're able to to not make those costly mistakes and give Marquette free reign to the basket, they're going to hang around and possibly have a chance to upset them tonight. And you and I both like Marquette. Like, we both have futures on Marquette this year in the NCAA tournament. But this is a good defensive Seton Hall team that has played in a lot of close games this year. Haven't been able to finish. And neither of these two teams are good from the free throw line either. But I do think this is too big of a number. I know that there was an Iain MacMillan birthday bet on Marquette at -7.5. Unfortunately, I have to go against it. I like Seton Hall here at +8.
There you go. So I'm on the under. You're on Seton Hall. It was back to the wall bets at back to the well. Sorry, back to the well bets at back to the well. Was on Marquette -7.5, and we didn't have the pick here on the show. But Cody Wells, big fan of the program, sends in picks all the time. He's also on Marquette. He sent in the pick. So
Cody and I have been on a lot of opposite sides lately in college basketball, and it's been disappointing because I like rooting for games with him. He's a sharp guy, but that's tough. Another one that Cody and I are going against each other on.
Yes. Rob Gage chimes in and says, hammering Ben's first quarter Coastal over. There you go. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Rob.
Right. So that's it for our, he also says, happy birthday, Ian, been listening for some time from Seattle, Washington. Nice. Shout out Rob. Shout out Seattle. I think I'd love Seattle. Never been there though. All right, let's get to the segment of the show here. And then we got game of the night, Memphis against Phoenix.
Should we show the people really quickly where we're going with them today, Ian, before we dive into that?
Yes. Let's bring up the recap, which I've made a habit of forgetting on the show recently. My first bet.
You get old. You forget things from time to time. Okay.
That's true. This is another result of getting old. Speaking of which, my first bet as a 30-year-old old man is Penguins -130 against the Islanders. I also got the under 142 Seton Hall and Marquette, under 7.5 rebounds for Jason Tatum. Ben, you're on Seton Hall +8, Magic first quarter money line -120, and the one that Rob Gage just referred to in the chat. First quarter over 13.5 between Coastal Carolina and East Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl. All right, I think we can move on now, if I haven't forgotten anything else, to our bets to make and miss the NFL playoffs with 2 weeks to go. Interesting race in both conferences. I think the best way to do it is for us to just go one after the other because both of mine tie into each other.
Yes.
So I'll give out my picks to make and miss here first. Pretty straightforward here. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to make the NFL playoffs. It seems like the game against the Dolphins was kind of a big one for them. Even though statistically, even like if you look at net yards per play, they're actually last in the NFL over the last 3 games, which is funny because they're on a 3-game win streak. But what they were doing, though, is forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over themselves. They have an average turnover margin of plus 1.7. Aaron Rodgers' interceptions were hurting them early in the year. They have stopped turning it over. They have been forcing turnovers on defense, and it has been absolutely huge for them. And now their final 2 games, what they need to do, by the way, if you didn't know, is they need to win both their final 2 games against the Vikings and the Lions, and they need the Commanders to lose one of their final 2 games or the Giants to lose both. So that is why my pick to miss the playoffs is the Washington Commanders. So the Packers, I think, well, they're 3-point favorites against the Vikings, so they're favored in that game against might be the most fraudulent NFL team of all time in the Minnesota Vikings. No offense to Vikings fans. But the Vikings stink. Their defense absolutely sucks. And then they take on the Lions, who a little bit fraudulent as well, a little mini fraudulent there for a little bit, I thought. Because the Lions, you can only go so far with the worst defense in the NFL, and that's what the Lions have. And the Vikings might have the second or third worst defense. So Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense gets to face 2 bad defenses to end the season. Christian Watson has become huge for them since he's kind of found his legs. He's gets tired, it seems like, almost every single Aaron Rodgers throw. I know he left the last game with an injury. I don't know. I assume he's back, or maybe he's out. I assume he's back, though. And then the Commanders only need to lose one of their final 2 games if the Packers do win out. This game is against the Browns this week. They're only 2-point favorites, I believe. So that one's a very losable game. And then week 18, all of a sudden, that game against the Cowboys, which they thought maybe the Cowboys might rest all their starters, it could be an important game for the Cowboys because they still have a chance to clinch the division. What they need to happen is they need to beat the Titans this week, which I'm sure they will. But the Saints will have to upset the Eagles, which is possible, especially if Jalen Hurts doesn't play. So if the Saints upset the Eagles and the Cowboys beat the Titans, the Cowboys, in theory, could still win the NFC East in the final week, which is going to be a tough matchup for the Commanders if the Cowboys do start all of their starters. So I think the Commanders lose that game at least. I think the Packers win out. So I'll take the Packers to make the playoffs at plus 198, the Commanders to miss the playoffs at minus 192.
Yeah, both of those plays make a lot of sense. Green Bay is one of those teams, especially as of late, have started to figure things out defensively. First half against Miami, things were a bit rough. They were going back and forth, but they've made adjustments. And Jair Alexander, not only is he an awesome post-game interview, but starting to return back to form as one of the best shutdown corners in the NFL. You've mentioned the emergence of Christian Watson. Last couple games have actually been a bit disappointing for Watson, but I think Rodgers is trying to do whatever he can to motivate him and fire him up because that's their best deep threat. And when you're going up against Minnesota, especially with the issues that they've had on defense, they can't stop the run, they can't stop the pass. Should be a good advantageous spot for Green Bay, and good weather actually expected. And when I say good weather, I mean it's not going to be single degrees, not going to be a bunch of rain, freezing, snow, whatever it might be. It's supposed to be like in the mid 30s Fahrenheit over at Lambeau Field this week. So I don't mind the Packers here. And you're right. Like, I think to a certain extent, what happens with them and the Lions, are you taking Aaron Rodgers or are you taking the Lions in the final week of the season? It's
right.
There's issues there. Let me give you a bit of an upset special. Because I think based on their road to get into the postseason, it's actually maybe easier than some of the other teams. You're getting great odds for them, and that's the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's been really good in the second half of the season. Steve Wilkes has come in. Sam Darnold has made his mark. He's not turned the ball over. Been really effective in pretty much every game he's played, with the exception of the home game against Pittsburgh. Have they been better at home than on the road? Sure, but you know who's been terrible at home this year? Tampa Bay. Bucs have been one of the worst covering teams in the NFL. In fact, they are the worst covering team in the NFL. And if I'm not mistaken, Ian, either they have one win against the spread at home or none. If they do have one, it was awfully close. I have to double check what those numbers are. But you're giving me Panthers team that basically, if they win this week, they're going to win the NFC South. So give me the team that's been playing far superior football to Tampa Bay. I know that you had mentioned last week that anytime you're considering wagering on Tampa, the question is why? Like, do we just wait for Tom Brady and the rest of this team and this offense to turn around? They have given no indication all season long that they're going to be able to do it. Maybe this is the week it happens, but we have about a 16-week sample that says that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are atrocious on the offensive side of the ball. They can't run the football. You have a Panthers defense that's starting to get a decent pass rush. And Tom Brady's going to be a sitting duck. So I think they could very easily go into Tampa Bay and knock them off this week. And then the team that I think is going to miss the playoffs, team that you've always enjoyed calling frauds for a long time, and that was the Tennessee Titans. They're minus 200 to miss the playoffs at this point, with Jacksonville still basically having to beat Tennessee on the way out, but with no Ryan Tannehill, with all sorts of injuries to both their offensive line, their defensive front. One of the big issues right now for Tennessee is that they were so good all year at stopping teams on third down, and they haven't been able to do that as of late, and they're just not scoring. Guys are sending 7, 8, 9 guys in the box against Derrick Henry, and they've been limiting him and his effectiveness as well. They're very one-dimensional, and Jacksonville, especially heading into that game, to be able to win that division should be right in the driver's seat. So give me the Panthers at plus 360. Boy, those are good odds, especially just if all they have to do is beat Tampa Bay to get that final division spot. And then I'm taking the Titans to miss the playoffs at minus 200.
I like both of those plays. Yeah. I've been saying it all year. Why are people betting on Tampa Bay? There's no team that I made more money on fading this year than the Buccaneers, who I just looked it up while you were talking. They have one push at home. Yeah. That's all they have. They beat the Rams as 3-point favorites by 3 points. Other than that, they have not covered at home. There are the three games that they cover the spread. 2 were on the road and 1 was in Germany. So they have the NFL worst ATS record, 3-11-1.
Yeah. And by the way, Stevie Pan says, hell, we have Jags going to the bowl. I will tell you, about a week or so ago, I think you and Reed actually placed a futures bet on Jacksonville. I took them, I think, at 30-1 to win the AFC, because why the hell not? Like, they're clicking at the right time with exceptional quarterback play. And by the way, one other quick note about Tampa Bay, I just have to get this off my chest. There's some times where you just get, this is why betting is hard. I took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the very beginning of last week when they opened at 3.5-point favorites on the road against Arizona. I got them at 3.5. The closing line was 7.5. And of course, they win the game by 3. Like, sometimes you get the right number and you still lose the bet. And that's what Tampa Bay has done for all of their bettors the entire season.
Yep. Oh, I just got an emergency alert. Snowing a lot in Canada. I think it's just a weather one. But now it's ringing in my ears. Yeah, Buccaneers absolutely stink. And yes, Reed and I did was bet on the Jaguars to face the 49ers in the Super Bowl. It was an exact Super Bowl matchup bet. I think it's like 160-1 or 100-1, or I don't know. It was a crazy price.
Wow.
That's what we decided on the show with Reed last week. So, but I also early in the year, I think it was like week 3 or week 4, made my tattoo bet the Jaguars. So if the Jaguars win the Super Bowl, I have to get a Jaguars tattoo.
All right, so it's basically like let's go ahead and get whatever money I need to cover the tattoo, and then the likely price of removing the tattoo down the road.
That emergency alert just threw off my AirPods. Now I can't hear anything.
All right. Well,
I can hear now. Okay, I just switched to my laptop. We're good. All right, let's finish off with game of the night. It is the Suns against the Grizzlies. Suns have some injuries. So most notably Devin Booker. So the spread's all the way up to 8. Why don't you start us off for game of the night? What's your best bet here?
I'm going under at 226.5. There's something about this game that kind of stinks a little bit as far as Phoenix's offense. In fact, that's kind of been the case for them over the last month of December. Their defense has been bad. Their offense has been bad. And both of these teams as well, Ian, are coming off of terrible defensive performances on Christmas Day. So I'm going to go ahead and buck that trend a little bit and back, especially Memphis playing at home, to put up a better defensive performance. In fact, if you go through the month of December, the number 1 defensive rated team in the NBA has been the Memphis Grizzlies. And entering the month of December, and I've got like a cough coming on, so you might have to save me on this one. The Suns entered the month of December sixth best in defensive rating. They've fallen all the way down to the 20s. So I expect both of these teams to make a better impact on the defensive front. And I got a cough. So it's all you, Ian.
All right. So Ben's on the under. He can add more to it afterwards. I'll give him my pick. If he wants to add anything else afterwards, he can. Yeah, you were on the total. I got a side for this one. So college basketball, I was on the total. You were on the side. This time we're flipping roles here. I got Suns +8. Why? Because I'm addicted to underreacting to injury news. Anytime a player gets injured and the line shifts and becomes a big spread, I like doing the opposite of what seems to be the obvious thing. I'll take the Suns getting the 8 points. Grizzlies. Not been shooting well lately. Second last in the NBA in effective field goal percentage over the last 3 games. So that lends well to your under bet, Ben. And also Suns second in extra scoring chances per game. That is a stat I brought up that I like in basketball this year, both in college basketball. Well, I've been looking at it for college basketball. Why not look at it for the NBA as well? Suns very good at creating extra scoring chances, plus 3.6 per game. So I'll take the Suns +8. Not going to take a money line. I'll take the 8 points, though.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable play, especially. It does feel like a big number. And granted, yes, the Suns have had their struggles in the month of December, but I expect a competitive game. And as much as I wanted to lean and take the Suns in that spot, I just felt like the under was a little bit better suited, knowing that these are 2 good defensive teams. They just need to start to show up a little bit.
There you go. All right. So that is the game of the night. The poll result is in. The poll's on the Grizzlies, -8. So we're all on different bets for the game of the night. But I expected that. That's why I'm going Suns. Underreact to the news, my friends. Underreact. The Grizzlies seem obvious, don't they? We will see. Although the poll was on the right side last night. Poll and Peter were on the Chargers last night. I got a little too cute. Took the Colts, and that was a terrible bet to watch. So there you go. Communities want to know.
What are they going to do, man? Like, who's gonna quarterback that team? Who's gonna coach that team? Like, what an absolute dumpster fire right now.
Who's more of a dumpster fire organization, the Colts or the Broncos?
Oh, it's without a doubt the Broncos right now.
Yes. All right. At least the Colts still have like a huge contract that they have to.
Correct.
Figure out.
Correct. Like, no, it'll be like Zach Wilson will be competing for a quarterback spot there next year.
Yes. Give Matt Ryan one more chance. Let's go.
Oh.
MVP. Still waiting on that MVP ticket to cash. All right, that is our show. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Ian's 30th birthday edition of Daily Bet Slip. For a birthday gift for me, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Ben, any final thoughts?
Happy birthday, buddy. You got anything fun planned for tonight?
No.
All right, then go win your bets and enjoy the first day of your 30s. I'm excited for you.
Yes, I got something taking a few days off around New Year's Eve, so I'm delaying my birthday celebrations for the most part until then. So I'm gonna eat some cake tonight, maybe 1 or 2 more beer, and call it night. So yeah, good luck to my bets. Good luck to your bets. Good luck to everyone's bets. Gambler blessed. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, with Reed Wallach for the final episode of Daily Bet Slip of 2022. So tune in for that. I'll talk to you then.